Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the live session organized by the UNESCO Culture sector in the framework of the World Conference on Education for Sustainable Development. My name is Ke Leng from the UNESCO Culture sector. I'm pleased to be with you today and introduce the session. To achieve the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in all its dimensions, it has become increasingly evident that we need to adopt an interdisciplinary and intersectoral approach. Culture possesses transformative potential and when being fully mobilized, may enrich learning processes, contents, pedagogies, and ultimately the uptake of skills and behaviors for the achievement of all the SDGs. It may also support to overcome many of the barriers to achieve inclusive, relevant, and equitable quality education, as well as lifelong learning for all. At this session, we have 6 speakers with us to share their work on leveraging the synergies between culture and education across various areas of sustainable development. I will now invite them to take the floor. Please note that as they speak, my colleague will share some publications and additional resources in the chat, which will allow you to get to know more about their work. Without further ado, I now give the floor to Ms. Nassima Chaboun from Morocco. She's an architect and co-founder of UNESCO World Heritage. She will speak to us about the links between heritage and safe building. Ms. Chaboun, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored and grateful to be part of this conference and to be able to share my experience with you today. So Mdina Stories was developed with support from UNESCO and UNOCT as part of the follow-up of the Arab World Heritage Young Professionals Forum, which was about the role of heritage and peace building. Mdina Stories is a project that targets several SDGs through both its outcomes and process. It targets the Maghreb region, especially 3 countries, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria, and it is mainly destined to youth. More concretely, this project aims to promote peace and foster youth resilience to extremism by educating them about heritage and also through heritage. Next slide, please. So what is exactly Mdina Stories? Medinas are the historical parts of the Maghreb cities, and Mdina Stories is a digital application that highlights the religious and cultural diversity of the Maghreb region through the examples of monuments and arts in 10 Medinas listed as UNESCO World Heritage. The application provides an interactive and playful experience. It is a virtual treasure hunt that invites the user to explore the multiple faces of the Maghrebi culture through exploring Jewish synagogues, Christian churches, Islamic mausoleums, African music, and Andalusian poetry that shape the identity of the Maghreb Medinas. The user can create its own journey through the interactive map. He can also watch photos, read informative texts, and find the hints to solve riddles and discover more elements. Therefore, Mdina Stories tends to reduce the gap between youth and heritage and to build a meaningful relationship based on curiosity, on discovery and active learning, which can contribute to SDG number 11.4, strengthening efforts to protect and safeguard the world's heritage through rising awareness. But this is not all. Next slide, please. Actually, the most important part of Mdina Stories is not the application itself, but it's the content creation process. In fact, all the content of Mdina Stories app was created through participatory activities using 2 powerful open platforms, Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia, and Wikimedia Commons, its sister project, and the free online multimedia repository. All the text of the digital application were generated from Wikipedia articles, and these articles were created through organizing an international writing contest in 3 languages, Arabic, French, and English. As to the photos, they are from Wikimedia Commons and were collected through organizing an international photography contest. This approach allowed to add a deeper dimension and a larger outreach to the project. The participants from several countries and continents had the chance to learn deeply about the Medina's heritage by searching for bibliographic sources, reading, analyzing, synthesizing, and writing, and also on the other side, visiting the Medinas, searching for monuments that illustrate diversity, interacting with local people to understand more about these monuments, taking photos, or simply re-exploring the photos that they took before and exploring them through another lens. Participants had also the chance to build new skills or deepen their knowledge in the fields of content creation, academic writing, and ICT through learning by doing. In this way, Mdina Stories also contributed to increasing the number of youth and also of adults who have relevant skills for employment and entrepreneurship, and to ensuring that new people acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, because the tools and methods used in Mdina Stories can be replicated to promote other cultural components or trigger positive change in other fields, such as climate change, human rights, and so on. Next slide, please. So the final outcome of Mdina Stories was not only this digital application, but a whole set of educational material that is free, widely accessible, and reusable. We engaged more than 100 participants, created more than 150 encyclopedic articles that are being translated by Wikipedia volunteers to more languages until today, and collected more than 1,000 photos under free license. But most importantly, Mdina project succeeded to bring together people from more than 10 countries located in 3 continents, among which some countries are conflicting today. Mdina Stories was only a beginning. Today in Wiki World Heritage, which is a Wikimedia affiliate, we developed Told Cities project, which tends to document all the cities listed as World Heritage all over the world through participatory and playful methods. And we wish that in few years, everyone on this planet can easily have access to information about our shared heritage in their languages and for free. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chabon, for your presentation. Now I give the floor to Ms. Blantaye from Ethiopia. She is a participant at the recent concluded African World Heritage Youth Forum. She will speak about youth engagement in heritage conservation and awareness. Ms. Taye, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. If you could share the slide, please. So my name is Blantaye. I'm a DPhil candidate based at the University of Oxford. And today I'm going to talk about how participating in the African World Heritage Youth Forum has helped me to develop my idea, or from my educational background, looking into heritage conservation, and particularly in Ethiopia, where I'm based and where I'm from, and extrapolating that into developing that into a business idea where we can develop a more sustainable approach to preservation in Africa. The core idea of the business that I want to develop, and also an idea that I want to explore, is learning from traditional preservation practices, particularly in Africa, to inform preservation and climate adaptation. And this correlates very well with sustainable development, because in most heritage sites in Africa, sustainable tourism and sustainable enterprises are encouraged, but we completely ignore, or we sometimes don't pay attention to, sustainable preservation of heritage. And you can imagine that to have a sustainable tourism and sustainable enterprises dependent on heritage sites, the main focal point of these industries, or this sector, is the preservation of heritage. So preservation efforts in Africa have largely relied on funding and grants from international institutions like UNESCO, and these tend to be sporadic and, as you can imagine, unsustainable. So, and moreover, these preservation projects have also been led by conservators from the West that often don't have a good understanding of the local context and the needs of the community, and they don't engage the community in a good way as well. So with the help of the African World Heritage Youth Forum, if you could please proceed to the next slide. I was able to, so I have a lot of experience working in Ethiopia, looking at the conservation of heritage sites. I was able to fully ask the question, what should heritage preservation in Africa look like? And the answer is not very simple, because we don't really have heritage preservation policies that really are willing to understand the complexity and the diversity of the African sites, or the diversity in both religion and histories, including colonialism, that are very specific to each area. So with the help of the Youth Forum, I was able to ask this question: what should heritage preservation in Africa look like? And my view is that for each specific region, there should be a bespoke preservation solution that really looks into how to meet in the middle between modern conservation practices and local conservation practices. And there are lots of local conservation practices in countries like Mali, where they continue to put mud on the mosques, as well as in Ethiopia, in Lalibela, and a site I'm quite familiar with, where local preservation is implemented, can be implemented, but has been neglected due to various pressures. So this idea has been well developed through the forum, and I'm looking further into putting this on the ground as an advisory firm that helps in building capacity with local communities, so that they can integrate traditional preservation methods with modern preservation strategies. By doing so, I think that would give us a more sustainable and more replicable approach to heritage preservation in Africa. And as you know, heritage plays a central role in both national identity and also in building a community. The preservation of heritage should be given should be one of the focal points in government policy agendas, but oftentimes it's quite neglected. And to address that challenge, I feel it's very important to have an African approach to heritage preservation. And that is precisely what I aim to continue to work on, after having built this idea at the African World Heritage Youth Forum. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taye. Now allow me to turn to my colleague from the UNESCO Bangkok office. I invite Ms. Han Duan Bish, Chief of Unit and Program Specialist for Culture at the Bangkok office UNESCO, to speak about the initiative from her office on integrating in living heritage in formal education in 6 Asian countries. Han, you have the floor.
Thank you, Kay. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to share with you the initiative that our office has been undertaking together with partners and offices, UNESCO offices in the region, teaching with intangible cultural heritage. Next one, please. Just very quick recap. Intangible cultural heritage, are often also known as living heritage, covers a wide range of domains such as social practices, traditional knowledge about nature, performing arts, oral traditions, traditional craftsmanship, or traditional games. Next one, please. So it's called living heritage because it's currently being practiced and it's being transmitted from older generation to younger generations. And as we see that young children now spend more time in school than with the community and within the family, the school's becoming a natural platform for us to work on transmitting and safeguarding of the intangible cultural heritage. Next one, please. So we have, for the past 10 years, the office has been working on different initiatives to promote the intangible cultural heritage, both as content and as methodology. So as the content, we are quite familiar with extracurricular activities, for example, where we have calligraphy clubs or dance clubs or different classes that children can take to learn about different intangible cultural heritage. Or we see that intangible cultural heritage also being used in classes that are in the humanities domain, where, for example, myth and oral stories are used in language classes. But then there's also the whole new range of ways that ICH, in short for intangible cultural heritage, can also use in classes, for example, in subjects that are not seemingly related at all to cultural heritage. such as math or physics or chemistry or earth science. Next one, please. This is just a very quick example of a lesson that currently developed in Nepal, one of our pilot country. And then I illustrate here with the way that how it can also link the subject with the ICH practice with the ESD principles. So this is a subject, this is a lesson taught under the subject Occupation and Business Technology Education for grade 8 students, where the ICH practice of making traditional water storage and using of traditional water storage was used. And you can see the activities that the students have implemented, and you can see the comments on the left side there, and we can see that how it can contribute to promote the ESD principle of environmental protection. So the feedback from the teachers and students who have been enjoying this methodology if using ICH is they think that the classes are more fun, the subject is easier to understand, and we also hope that this also contribute to to safeguarding and transmitting the ICH among the younger generation. Next one, please. So this is just a very quick recap of some of our publication, the work in the countries that we have been carrying out a project, the different domains that we are working in, different areas, advocacy, capacity building, materials development, curriculum mapping, and policy review among our work, and then to acknowledge the partners who have been joining forces with us to support this project. So if you are from one of these countries who would like to learn more about the work that we have done in your country, please get in touch with us. Or if you are not in one of these countries and would like to also take on this approach to work with your schools, please also get in touch with us, and please stay tuned. Next one, please, because we will have a lot of upcoming products will be put in on our UNESCO Bangkok website. So please follow us on Facebook and on our website. Thank you. Over to you, Kay.
Thank you very much, Han. I now also turn to my colleague in the Asia Pacific region, Ms. Mue Shiba, Program Specialist for Culture at the UNESCO Cluster Office in Jakarta. She will speak about supporting the development of youth entrepreneurial skills in the creative sectors. Mue, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Kurt, and good evening, everybody from Jakarta. So let's shift a little bit from heritage to creative industry, which is another important area of work of UNESCO. 2021 is the International Year of Creative Economy. So more and more countries from the global south consider culture industry as critical economic sector. So nurturing competent human resources to lead the creative industry is required. But the question is how? This sector has its peculiar challenges that a standard approach for education and vocational training would be probably not conducive. So what is the characteristic of the so-called creative industry or cultural industry in the global south? It is first and foremost a vast arena with all sorts of subsectors and communities. They are both in rural and urban settings. They include heritage-based goods and services like hand weaving, batik making, or shadow puppetry in case of Indonesia, as much as non-traditional activities such as musical rock band, game app, and fashion designs and whatnot. In Southeast Asia, interestingly, they often consider food production, street food, for instance, also as cultural industry. They are typically family-based cottage industries or individual-led micro-enterprise, and in the informal economic sector. The profile of the actors also vary. In the cities, some have university degree. However, in the rural area or small towns, very few has higher education. So how can we address the capacity building of the human resources in this such a complex sector? Next slide, please. Yeah. So since 2018, UNESCO Jakarta has been piloting a program named Creative Youth at Indonesian heritage sites. It mentors more than 300 young startups living around famous heritage destinations to develop their business skills while enhancing heritage awareness to inspire their products and services. Most of them are from small towns and villages in informal economy, and as such often fall outside the government support scheme for the creative industry. The topic of a training is varied and comprehensive. It includes basic financial literacy, business planning, market assessment, brand image development, and use of social media for marketing. And of course, because we are UNESCO Culture sector, these are combined with sessions on heritage values of the places or philosophy behind crafts. We also do matchmaking between the youth and the industry players for possible collaborations. So what is the result of our interventions? Well, perhaps after only 3 years, it is perhaps premature to talk about that real impact as such. However, even during the pandemic in 2020, 25% of the beneficiaries said that their average turnover increased, God's thanks. Next slide, please. So we started this program to address the absence of good policies and methodology for community capacity building and creative industry. In our program, unlike many of the UNESCO projects, we have no standard curriculum because it is simply not possible to develop fixed modules for a group which is such a variety of activities and background. And because there is no standard curriculum, there is no certificate or the degree, and we were certainly not going to advocate for such thing. Our program begins with a mapping of the target beneficiaries on their training needs. We determine the type of training at the beginning of a new program cycle. Our program has 6 different sites. However, apart from some joint classes, each site has a separate training planning based on the local group need and context. The program does not attempt to create any textbook either, but have focused on instead creating a pool of a wide range of experts and resource persons with their practical knowledge. These resource persons include master craft persons, anthropologists, historians, fashion designers, marketing firms, business advisors, social media influencers, just to name a few. The emphasis is on individual mentoring and support for their networking amongst peers and with other sector players. This is a strategy we are testing for human resource development in the cultural industries. Once again, this is very different from the usual government-driven program focusing on curriculum development to provide trainees with a set of standard knowledge and skills. This might work for certain sectors, but certainly not for the creative industries. So the key word we believe is bottom-up, need-driven, and flexible. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mue, and all the previous speakers to talk about your initiatives that are taking place at the national and local levels. Now, my colleague from the 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage, Ms. Suzanne Schnugen, who is the Chief of Unit on Capacity Building and Heritage Policy, will talk to us today on UNESCO's online platform on living heritage and education, focusing in particular on good examples of synergy with education for sustainable development. Suzanne, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Ke. Thank you very much. And dear educators and colleagues present here today, I'm so pleased to be with you and with my colleague, Ashley Cunningham, because together we indeed want to present to you this new tool that we developed, the Clearinghouse on Living Heritage and Education. Living heritage, as Han, a colleague from Bangkok, already explained, is also known, or maybe primarily known, as intangible cultural heritage. And it has so much to offer to education for sustainable development. It can provide context-specific content and pedagogy for all levels of education, all subjects and different topics. So it's from ranging from learning to live sustainably, to global citizenship and peace education, to community resilience and enriching technical and vocational training. Through living heritage, that is what we found, schools and communities can connect. They can build on what learners know and increase educational relevance. These are, as you all know, important aspects of SDG 4 on quality education and lifelong learning. It is therefore clear that there is a sense of shared interest between our two sectors and between these fields, as integrating living heritage into formal and non-formal education benefits the ambitions of both enhancing the transmission of intangible cultural heritage, as well as addressing key issues in improving the quality of education. Indeed, the Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage recognizes that transmission of living heritage through formal and non-formal education is an important safeguarding measure. Many of you are already involved in this work and we look forward to collaborate more with you. But now please get ready for a quick introduction to our new clearinghouse by Ashley Cunningham. Thanks, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm going to give you a brief practical demo of the tool that we've developed, the UNESCO Clearinghouse on Living Heritage and Education. You should be able to all see it on your screens there in front of you now. So this is a tool that really we developed as a way to consolidate and share knowledge, examples, tools, and other resources on this intersection between intangible cultural heritage or living heritage and education. It's been designed for multiple audiences, both education and culture stakeholders, anyone from teachers right up to policymakers, and it's designed to be very practical. So if you take a look at the screen there, you'll see when you land on the clearinghouse page, in the middle here, we have a map which shows you all of the different tools and resources that have been collected in the clearinghouse. And you can click on any one of those and it will pop up and tell you what it's all about, and you can click to go learn more. We also have over on the left-hand side here filters. So if you're someone who's really interested, say in primary education, then you can select that filter and it will filter and show you only the resources related to that area of education. I'm just going to remove the filter now. And then the core of the clearinghouse really is the 4 tabs that we have here. So you'll see there's news, events, projects, and resources. The news is showing recent UNESCO events and activities. And in fact, the example that Han was sharing with us earlier, our colleague from the Bangkok office, we have a news story here about this guide that they published. So this is really the go-to place to learn about what's happening, latest news in this area. We also have events that have been going on, so different webinars or activities that have been happening or upcoming events as well. So this is another place where you can learn more about what will be happening. And then we have projects, and these projects are a combination of things from UNESCO field offices or resources that others have shared with us that are related to this field. And just to share you one example, we have here a project from Southern Africa, and this is on education for sustainable development. It's a capacity building program for teachers. And in this project, the teachers are engaging in change projects related to intangible cultural heritage. So each project, you can come to the page, you can read more about it. And then finally, the last tab we have is the resources tab. And this is where you're going to find very practical resources, things like lesson plans or toolkits that you can actually use to work in this area. So that's just a very brief introduction, but if you take a look in the chat box, I believe the link is being shared where you can, on your own time, browse through all of the tools and resources we have here available. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Suzanne and Ashley, for this very comprehensive introduction. Last but not least, I give the floor to Ms. Caroline Munier, also my colleague from the UNESCO office in San Jose. She's the program specialist for culture. She will speak to us about UNESCO's efforts at the regional and sub-regional levels in federating partners to strengthen the integration of culture within educational system through policy strategies and plans. Due to the time difference, this message is pre-recorded. So I would ask my colleague to kindly put her presentation on the screen.
Dear colleagues, dear participants in the Culture Live session at the World Conference of Program Specialist of the UNESCO San Jose office in Costa Rica, which works for Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. I'm very pleased to be with you today, although through a video message, given the time difference. It's now 5 morning in Costa Rica, to present to you the strategy to articulate the functional relationship between culture and education in the SICA region. Let me first of all present to you what is the SICA region briefly. The SICA is the Central American Integration System. This is the institutional framework that leads the regional integration process and serves as a platform for cooperation in Central America. It encompasses 8 countries, which are Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and the Dominican Republic. SICA has a technical secretariat in charge of promoting regional integration in the areas of education and culture, known as the Educational and Cultural Coordination of SICA, SEC-SICA, which is based in San Jose, Costa Rica. So the UNESCO office in San Jose is representing UNESCO in SICA and SEC-SICA. As a key partner of SEC-SICA, UNESCO participated in the ordinary meeting session of its Council of Ministers of Culture and Education, which was held in El Salvador in October 2019. And during this session, the interrelation between culture and education was extensively addressed, and the role of culture in public policies to achieve sustainable development was discussed. Among other resolutions, the Council requested the elaboration of a strategy that incorporates both dimensions, culture and education, in favor of a regional integration and sustainable development. Based on this resolution and on a specific request from the Secretariat of SEC-SICA to UNESCO, we provided technical assistance for the elaboration of this strategy. Our office, together with colleagues in headquarters, worked with the UNESCO experts of the region in education and culture and the SEC-SICA team to prepare a programmatic proposal to guide the countries of the region in the development of educational models that integrate culture as an essential component for the construction of peaceful, sustainable societies open to the diversity of cultural expressions, and to position intercultural dialogue as a key factor in the process of regional integration. For the development of the strategy, the expert conducted an analysis of the situation of the countries of the region and carried out consultations with both ministries of education and of culture of the 8 countries of SICA. In addition, regional strategic documents such as the Central American Education Policy 2013-2030, the Cultural Policy for Central American Integration 2012-2015, and the Regional Policy for Gender Equality and Equity were taken into account. The result is a strategy that offers a multidisciplinary approach to the incorporation of a set of concepts into the education system of Central America countries, such as cultural heritage, the protection and promotion of cultural diversity, education for sustainable development, peace, global citizenship, and the prevention of violent extremism. The strategy was finally officially adopted by the SEC-SICA Council of Ministers of Education and Culture at its session in November 2020. So you see that we managed to elaborate this strategy within a year, which was last year, 2020. Now, regarding the content of the strategy, from the perspective of the 2030 agenda, the strategy is clearly aimed at contributing to SDG 4.7, which refers to education for global citizenship and sustainable development, emphasizing the role of cultural diversity, as well as SDG 11.4, related to the protection of the world's cultural and natural heritage. In this sense, it contemplates dimensions such as intercultural education, arts education, education on tangible and intangible cultural heritage, and takes into account the educational necessities of different communities and social groups, including indigenous communities, which, as you know, are fundamental in a region such as Central America. However, it is understood that the fulfillment of these goals is key to progress in all aspects of sustainable development. So the strategy has the potential to indirectly promote other SDGs, such as the reduction of inequalities, the fight against poverty, climate action, and the construction of just and peaceful societies. The objectives of the strategy have been designed taking into account the social context of the SICA region and are oriented to ensure comprehensive and good quality education, emphasize the recognition of cultural diversity as a key factor for peace building, strengthen knowledge of tangible and intangible cultural heritage, and incorporate arts education into the three dimensions of learning: cognitive, social, emotional, and behavioral. The strategy constitutes a clear roadmap planned in 4 stages: organization and planning, diagnosis, implementation, and monitoring, which are operationalized through a set of programs and actions. The strategy is structured according to the principles of pragmatism, relevance, and flexibility, with the aim of being easily adaptable to the different legal, institutional, and material realities and conditions of each country. The evaluation and monitoring stage foresees the implementation of the Culture 2030 indicators, which will make possible to monitor the progress of the processes in each of the countries. In summary, the strategy for articulating the functional relationship between culture and education in the SICA region is based on a cutting-edge conceptual proposal and constitutes a very practical tool for improving education systems in the region. It facilitates mutual enrichment between the education and the culture sectors through the exchange of knowledge and practices and the recognition of the value of each sector's contribution to sustainable development. This really marks a first step in the implementation of a process that offers a valuable opportunity to improve through education and culture the quality of life of the populations of the SICA region in the medium and long term. UNESCO will of course continue to accompany SICA and the member states to evaluate the implementation of this strategy. I hope this example was very fruitful for your discussion, and I'm at your disposal via email exchange and so on for any more information you may need. Many thanks for this opportunity to present this strategy to you of Central America.
Well, thank you, Caroline. And now we come to the end of our session. I would like to thank to all the speakers today at the session. I believe all the audience will join me and thank them for providing so many food for thoughts on how to stimulate joint actions to strengthen the synergies between culture and education in order to achieve greater impact for sustainable development at various levels. And thanks to you all for the participation. Please do not hesitate to contact us should you need more information, and our contact is attached in the chat. Thank you all again. Wish you all well, and hope to see you very soon again.